Well, tonight we're here for you, kicking off our month-long series dedicated to keeping our children safe online.
And you know, even if your kids aren't allowed on social media, they could be interacting with others online.
Even young children playing games rated E for everyone can be at risk. I recently spoke with a Michigan State Police investigator in the Internet Crimes Unit. Take a listen. Minecraft and Fortnite, Roblox and Zoomerang, Discord and Kick Messenger. If even one of those sounds familiar, you'll want to listen up. Those are just a few of the top games and apps children as young as 6 are using. Even if you think your child is too young for social media, chances are they're already socializing online.
I don't think parents realize what Roblox really is.
It's a system of hundreds of games where kids create their own avatar and identity, building a virtual life and interacting with others along the way.
Some of the members that are on Roblox chatting, they will try to get kids to meet them up somewhere. And so you got to be careful about that.
Michigan State Police Trooper Sarah Corlett says these days similar dangers lurk in virtually every virtual game.
Kids can be sending out your address or how old they are, birthdays, and people can get that information pretty quickly.
She says young kids assume they're playing with other children their own age, but that's often not the case. Many are predators, hoping to lure children out of cyberspace and into dangerous situations in the real world.
You don't know who's behind these screens.
And that's exactly what happened in a recent case that landed before state police. An 11-year-old girl connected with a friend who turned out to be a man in his 20s.
She did send pictures of herself to this adult. They met on Discord, I believe, and then they started talking on Skype. It was on her school-issued Chromebook that all of this stuff was happening.
She says within the last year, Chromebooks have majorly come into play as schools across the state and country distributed them to countless students to help with at-home online learning.
You got to be careful. Just because it's a school-issued Chromebook doesn't mean your kid is always doing school-issued things on the Chromebooks.
Trooper Corlett says chat apps like Discord and Kick Messenger are just as dangerous as games. And while children love to create what they think are harmless videos on the popular app Zoomerang, she says they could be telling predators exactly where to find them.
They can figure out where you had uploaded the last video. And even if you're doing your videos outside, they know where that stuff is at. So you got to be careful even with that, even if you don't have your location services on.
So no matter how many safety measures you think you have in place, she says it's important to sit down and actually play with your child and to have real conversations with your kids before they ever pick up a device and log on.
They have to learn, like, this could be dangerous.
Welcome back. We're here for you now with another report from our Cyber Safety and Security series.
Emojis are a fun tool many people use, but you may not know that kids could be using them as a secret code.
Yes, 6 News reporter Araceli Crescenzio is here for you now with more on how you can stay on top of this technology.
There are more than 3,600 emojis to choose from, and while they all look like friendly images, they may have a double meaning.
We do run across it quite frequently. During my day-to-day work, we do examine a lot of cell phones from adults and some juveniles.
To parents, a broccoli, a flower, or a peach emoji may not mean much, but experts say this can translate to weed, drugs, or a sexual reference.
It's almost like trying to learn a new language. It's from drugs to money to a lot of different things.
Sergeant Thomas Glatney III, a detective with Michigan State Police, says parents should know some emojis are sexual.
One that everyone's kind of run across is the eggplant emoji. Typically means, male genitalia. But not always, but when paired with other things that can be used by kids to convey messages back and forth.
Glatney says decoding this language isn't easy, and meanings can change based on where you live.
There's no, hard rules when it comes to it. I might talk to some kids in the Lansing area and talk to some kids in Grand Rapids, and they have completely different meanings for different things.
We're here for you now with another report in our Cyber Safety and Security series.
Young adults have more access to smartphones than ever before, and it's important to know what they're doing on their technology.
6 News reporter Tony Garcia is here for you now with more on how you can stay on top of your child's activities.
In this day and age of all the things that can happen on this phone, I think it's become a parent's obligation to check their child's phone and make sure you know what they're doing on their phone, because if you don't, the consequences can be devastating.
Parents, kids, and navigating the balance of trusting your child with a phone versus protecting them from any of a number of dangers. It's a touchy subject, says Ingham County Sheriff Scott Rigglesworth, but it's a conversation he says every parent must have with their kids.
It's sort of like going into a kid's room. You know, I know some parents say, well, it's my kid's room and I don't want to just go in there unannounced. Go into your kid's room unannounced.
Rigglesworth says there's a laundry list of things that can go wrong, from cyberbullying and spam messages to stolen information and predators. He says you don't want to be telling yourself, I wish I'd done more.
We're taking a look at certain unknown websites your kids could be using while on the internet.
Yeah, just because you don't see them on Facebook doesn't mean they're not on other social media platforms. 6 News reporter Michael Thomas is here for you now with what apps you should be looking for.
Around the world, there are 4.4 billion social media users and thousands of social media platforms. Online detective Devon Sneed with Michigan State Police says thinking your child is only on Facebook is simply a thing of the past.
Young adults and young teenagers don't use Facebook as much. They're more so on TikTok, huge social media site, Snapchat, Omegle, WhatsApp.
And that list goes on. Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and even some that have an invite-only policy like Clubhouse, allowing only people who are invited by current users to become a member and access the site. Detective Sneed says keeping up with these apps and their latest capabilities is the newest part of parenting.
You may think that this app is completely innocent, but if it has a chat, anyone can sign in and possibly make contact with your young adult or your teenager.
We continue our series on cyber safety tonight with a look at how Michigan State Police track down hidden electronics during an investigation.
Kaylee Maritat met with a special member of the state police who is especially good at sniffing out that evidence.
Over, place, sit. Good.
Kibby isn't your average police dog. She's a cyber dog for Michigan State Police.
She's trained in an odor called triphenylphosphine. What that odor is an ingredient in the coating of a circuit board.
So laptops, SD cards, phones, and pretty much anything electronic.
We put this collar on her, and this is that's what tells her she's got to work.
Kibby and her handler, David Cardenas, will go out and assist with finding evidence.
Once that investigation's over, if they're looking for some kind of electronic evidence, that's when we would step in.
Cardenas has been working with police canines for 17 years and has been with Kibby since she joined the force 4 years ago. Her training was similar to how a dog would be trained to find narcotics, except for her, electronics. So Cardenas and Kibby will get a call, go out, and try to find what investigators might have missed.
Remote controls, things that we know we're not going to take, but things that Kibby will hit on still because it has a circuit board. So we take all that stuff out and then we bring Kibby in, and if we miss something, or I mean, you think about a micro SD card, you can fit that pretty much anywhere.
From a friend request to a request for money, cyber safety experts say more young adults are meeting people online and aren't aware of the hidden dangers. Sarah Al-Shah is here for you now with the price that some pay when an online relationship goes wrong.
People meet online every day, whether that be through dating apps or webcams. But what happens when one person tries to exploit someone else? Well, that's something that many people are going through in silence.
Like, this is happening to so many young people, and they don't know what to do with it.
Cyber sextortion is a situation where sexual images of someone are used against them as a threat for money or for something else.
Essentially a form of sexual violence.
Karen Holt is a criminal justice professor at Michigan State University. She did research with MSU criminal justice doctoral student Bertie Liggett on this type of online harassment. They say there are different types of cyber sextortion. One could involve an intimate partner.
Pictures are shared initially in a consensual way. However, once the relationship breaks down, those images might be used to continually coerce someone in the relationship.
The other could be through an online relationship with a person someone's never met.
Be Facebook or any kind of social media creates a fake account and then pretend to be someone else.
You know, I got a master's degree. I'm a teacher. Like, I was successful, I feel like. And since coming here, it's just like got lower and lower, where you're just like, you know, to be at the stage where you just literally don't want to exist and take a bunch of pills because you want to die.
Stephanie tried to take her own life in the summer of 2019 after traveling from Australia to Grand Rapids to meet a man she met online 5 years earlier.
He
became like abusive, like physically abusive, and he kept me basically captive. Like I couldn't leave the house, I couldn't go anywhere.
Broke, alone, living illegally in the country, and terrified, she tried to commit suicide. Stephanie survived, and when an ambulance came, she was able to get out of that situation, but soon found herself in a worse one. Drugged, beaten, and trafficked for sex by 2 men inside a hotel room for 7 months.
Did you think you were going to die in that hotel room?
Definitely, yeah.
In October of 2020, Stephanie managed to escape and eventually got the help she needed at the House of Promise in Lansing, a nonprofit specifically for survivors of sex abuse and sex trafficking.
And how has it been at the House of Promise?
Awesome, like, so good. Yeah. That's going to make me cry more than... It has made me feel like normal again. The House of Promise is like hope.
What got her sucked in my opinion, is she was looking for love.
Founder and president Sherry Montgomery says Stephanie's story isn't surprising.
They're not getting attention. They're not getting the love they need in their family or their friends. So they end up, you know, someone will find them on the World Wide Web very easily. And you may never see your child again.
The Human Trafficking Institute says the internet has become the dominant tool for traffickers to recruit victims. Data from the last 2 decades show 30% of all victims identified in federal sex trafficking cases since 2000 were recruited on the internet. And while Stephanie's story is a little different, she knows as well as anyone the dangers that lie online.
Well, you always hear like anyone can be whatever they want on the internet, right? And that's true, but even further to that, like you can see someone on camera, they can tell you about their life, but you really don't know their mental capacity, you don't know their nature. You have to be a lot more vigilant, I guess, on what you accept as truth.
Stephanie has since graduated from the program at the House of Promise. She says she's a product of a dysfunctional foster care system in Australia and plans to stay here in the United States to help children in a similar situation.
Welcome to this 6 News special report on cyber safety. Here's your host, Lauren Thompson.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our 6 News special on cyber safety. In this next half an hour, we'll share stories with you to help keep you and your family safe online. We're looking at exactly how much of our lives are online and the threats it can pose to you and your family, to what you can do and what the authorities are doing to help keep everyone safe. We start tonight with a look at an exhibit at MSU that shows us just how pervasive the internet and social media can be in our lives. From smartphones to search engines to social media, the devices we use every day do help us connect. But are they also tools to keep an eye on us and the places that we go? Well, Luke Snyder shows us how we're tracked and traced.
What does it look like to live in a society where privacy is merely an illusion? That's the question the Michigan State Museum is working to answer through their Tracked and Traced exhibit.
Well, the main reason social media companies know so much about our lives is because we tell them. So many of us spend a lot of time on their sites telling them where we go, what we like, and who we love. The average person, in fact, spends hours a day on social media. 6 News reporter Yamari Sase sat down with an expert to learn more about how social media plays too big of a role in our lives.
Most people know social media can be addicting, but how bad can it be? I checked my time online last week and I averaged more than 4 hours a day. So I decided to check in with MSU students to get their thoughts.
So you've talked to your kids about the dangers of the internet. You may have even cracked the emoji code, but what are the real tangible steps that you can take to keep your loved ones safe? Jorma Duran is here for you now with ways you can cut out the creeps and questionable content.
Kids love being online, and access has never been easier. In fact, a new federal study shows 95% of American children use the internet every day through a computer, tablet, or smartphone.
Well, thanks for joining us for this special report on cyber safety. You can find all of these stories along with resources to report cyber crimes and navigate the World Wide Web safely at WLNS.com.